So apparently, according to this analysis here, that the UK's net migration will start falling to pre-Brexit levels. We're going to read into this more from The Guardian, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that the UK net migration will start falling to pre-Brexit levels. Analysis shows student and recent arrivals will begin to return and current record figures of 606,000 and will be halved within coming years. So, straight off the bat, this doesn't feel right. Like I'm going to just go out on a limb here and say that due to the fact that right now, the time of this recording is October, and obviously as things get colder and the winds get rougher, it will be harder for migrants to cross the channel. Obviously, during the summertime, it's much easier for them when the winds are low and the sea is much calmer. So, but it doesn't mean to say that I still don't think migration isn't still going to cross. I'm just thinking, what is the reason for these analysis? I mean, obviously we're going to read into it, but I'm just trying to kind of get my head around it. What's going to make it fall? That's going to stop people coming to the UK. Now, is it because they've heard about what's going on in the UK? Is it because maybe they're happy where they are in France or other places? Like, what really is kind of tinkering? And I'm trying to wrap my head around it before reading it. What could the analysis that make me say this is the main reason why it's dropping, sort of thing? Because the main thing that sticks in my mind right now is the weather, which is understandable given where we're at, but I'll have to read into it before I can give more thoughts, I suppose, when it comes to it, guys. So, net migration to the UK is likely to fall significantly in the coming years, but remain at pre-Brexit levels of about 300,000, analysis by academic experts have suggested. So net migration was at a record 606,000 in the 12 months to June 2022, up 24% on the previous year, prompting Rishi Sunak to say the numbers are too high. It's as simple as that. I want to bring them down. Okay, so we had a record number of 606,000 in the 12 months up to June 2022, according to their analysis, 24% up on the previous year, and he wants to bring them down. So that is quite a significant high number, much higher than anticipated. A sharp increase has been driven by several factors, including the arrival of refugees from Ukraine and Hong Kong on special visa schemes, as well as the rapid rise in both student and work visas. Okay, Hong Kong and Ukraine makes very valuable points there. Student and work visas as well. Yep, those seems like a pretty fair analysis on them. I think obviously the Ukraine one has obviously slowed down significantly. Obviously the war is still going on, but I would say that most people who wanted to get out of the way of the war, are out of the way. But I still think there's obviously some people in Ukraine who are just choosing to stay where they are. As for Hong Kong, obviously, there will come a point where China will take Hong Kong fully. I just know it. It's a matter of when, not if. And I'm just glad that we were able to give the opportunity for those in Hong Kong to come to the UK, because obviously they don't want to be under the regime of China. But I do fear that at some point that is going to happen to them one way or another. It's just a matter of when, not if. The analysis by experts from the Migration Observatory at the Oxford University and the Centre of Economic Performance at the London School of Economics argues that some of these forces are likely to unwind in the years ahead regardless of government policy, with many students returning home after 2 or 3 years, for example. By examining typical stay rates for different groups of migrants, the report predicts a significant increase in emigration of people leaving the UK. High immigration leads to high immigration, but not immediately. There is a lag of 2 to 3 years. Unless there is a large change in immigration behaviour from what we have observed in the past, it is reasonable to expect that emigration will increase between now and 2025, bringing down migration even if the number of people arriving in the UK remains high by historical standards, the report says. Based on these stay rates, other factors such as tailing off in arrivals from Hong Kong and Ukraine, the analysis suggests net migration could decline to 250,000 to 350,000 by 2030. So It is entirely possible that people may leave, but is it really going to drop that much? I mean, I'm no expert, so I wouldn't know for sure, to be fair. But these guys would probably know better than me. That I'm still sceptical about that. Alan Manning, Professor of Economics at LSE at co-author of the report, says most plausibly scenarios involve net migration falling in the coming years, but many different factors affect the outlook, including what share of international students switch from long-term work visas, whether work visas numbers continue to increase sharply as they've done so in the past few years, and what happens to asylum applications. He added the unpredictability means it will be very hard for policymakers to guarantee they will deliver a specific level of net migration. Conservative leaders from David Cameron on repeatedly pledged to reduce net migration to the tens of thousands and consistently failed to do so. Boris Johnson's 2019 manifesto omitted the promise, pledging instead to fix our immigration system. But he did claim that overall numbers will come down. Sunak has promised to stop the boats transporting migrants across the UK to the Channel. Instead, net migration has soared from 219,000 in 2019 before the COVID pandemic to more than 600,000 last year, prompting an increase in fierce debate within the Tory party, with Home Secretary Suella Braverman recently warning of a hurricane of mass migration. The Migration Observatory Magdalene Sumpton points out that the key driver of the increase in net migration has been people coming to the UK to work, in particular in the health and social care sector. Yeah, it might be because we're very short on workers. That could be a possibility. Just saying, we are short of workers, then that is still an issue in quite a lot of sectors still. One of the striking findings is that the current trend continues. Work visas will set to be the largest factor shaping overall net migration by some distance. Work-related migration has mostly been driven by health and care, so future migration patterns will be particularly sensitive to developments in the sector, she said. In the year ending June 2023, the Home Office issued about 78,000 work visas to care and senior care workers, just over 35,000 to doctors and nurses. As the NHS struggled to fill thousands of vacancies, the government recently announced NHS workforce plans intended to reduce reliance on overseas workers by training more UK recruits, but it's likely to take some years to have an effect. So their predictions obviously is that they think the numbers will go down over in coming years, because that's kind of how it works. So obviously, looking at these numbers, obviously over the last, they really to them it's obviously massively jumped. But I also think Brexit has played a factor in this too. I think there's no doubt that you have to take Brexit into account to this as well, because one of the things that we was doing is that we were able to ship a huge number of these back to a huge number of the illegal migrations back to France, back to the EU, because of the system that we because of the relationship and the trade agreements and other factors, obviously, because we're part of the EU and we were able to do that. We don't have that same system that we had before with our French counterparts that we did before, and we're throwing a lot of money at the French here to try and stop people crossing as well. Obviously, Ukraine, Hong Kong, as we mentioned in the mid-thoughts, is that obviously they're going to start winding down as well. But obviously, what about Palestinians potentially, or potentially coming to the UK? Are we going to welcome them if they want to come to the UK? Those who are forced to flee what's happening in Gaza, if they're allowed to get out, will that not be a factor into it too? What about the humanitarian needs for those people who want to come to the United Kingdom, for example? There are still many factors. It is quite a high number when you think about it. But are that many people going to leave the United Kingdom? I think it's more of a case of wait and see. These analyses, obviously, they have the best knowledge to it, but obviously they could also prove to be wrong. It is a huge amount of migration. But what's infuriating is that we have a lot of people that have come to the UK and they can't work, even though they're more than capable of working, because of some of the systems and laws that we have in place that were changed over by the Conservatives, which is absolutely ridiculous to say the least. We have good, decent workers who are prepared to contribute to the United Kingdom, contribute to our economy, contribute to pay and work and pay their taxes and fair share, but they won't allow them whatsoever to do it. and they sit there in barges, in hotels, or wherever accommodation that they're forced in, and we pay out of our own pocket for it instead of them actually contributing to us. That's not their fault. That is the law that's been put in that is policy been put in by those in power. Not their fault. And they want to contribute, but we are choosing not to let them contribute. And then when they're sitting there, not making anything of themselves, it's not good for anyone, really. But do you agree with this analysis? Do you think it's right? Do you think the numbers will start going down? And if so, will that play into the Conservatives' hands at the next general election? They could argue that they've brought the numbers down. That could be a area of a possibility to think about now. So what do you guys honestly think of it? Like, share and subscribe as always. Thank you very much for watching as always. And I hope to catch you all very, very soon.